The most dangerous thing you can do for your social status is to be too useful. It sounds like a total glitch in the social simulation, doesn't it? We are raised on a diet of be helpful, be kind, and be the person everyone can count on. But have you ever noticed that the people who are the most available are often the ones the tribe respects the least? Think about it. The emergency contact friend, the employee who always picks up the extra shift, the partner who never says no. They aren't viewed as leaders. They are viewed as infrastructure. They are the plumbing of other people's lives, completely invisible until something stops working, and then they're just expected to fix it. I have a question for you that might sting a bit. Is your kindness actually a noble virtue, or is it just a low-level survival script you're running because you're terrified of what will happen if you finally become unavailable? Tell me your honest thoughts in the comments. I read and reply to every single one because I love seeing the moment people decide to reclaim their own source code. Carl Jung once said that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves. When someone gets angry at you for not being available, they aren't actually mad at you. They are mad that their utility tool has developed a will of its own. They are mad that the mirror they were using to avoid looking at their own emptiness has suddenly gone dark. You see, when you are always available, you aren't a person. You're a projection screen. People project their needs, their crises, and their boredom onto you, and as long as you react, you are validating their script. But the moment you withdraw, the moment you choose silence over the automatic response, the entire simulation goes into a state of emergency. This isn't about being cold or mean, it's about psychic energy. Jung viewed the mind as a finite energy system. Every time you give a forced yes, every time you reply to a text you didn't want to answer, and every time you justify your boundaries to someone who doesn't respect them, you are leaking energy. You are thermal throttling your own potential to keep someone else's low-effort life running smoothly. Imagine your life as a high-end operating system. Most of us are running too many background processes for people who don't even contribute to our hardware. Being always available is like leaving 50 tabs open on a browser while trying to run a heavy piece of software. Eventually, the system is going to crash. We call this burnout, but it's actually just a consequence of being too accessible. We've been programmed since childhood to believe that our value is tied to our utility. If we aren't doing something for the tribe, we feel like we're failing. But this is a logic error. In the wild, the rarest resources are the most valued. Gold isn't valuable because it's helpful. It's valuable because it's hard to find. When you make yourself easy to find, you are effectively devaluing your own currency. You become an emotional rag, as some might say. Something used to clean up other people's messes and then tossed aside until the next spill. The real power move in the social simulation is withdrawal. Not the withdrawal of a victim who is hiding, but the withdrawal of a sovereign who is busy building their own kingdom. When you stop being predictable, you become a mystery. And humans are biologically wired to pay more attention to mysteries than to certainties. When you stop reacting like a puppet every time someone pokes a wound, you cut the strings. You stop being a functional part of their drama. This is what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming a whole, authentic individual. It starts with the realization that your absence is just as powerful as your presence. In fact, for many of the people in your life, your absence is the only thing that will ever force them to grow. By being their safety net, you are actually robbing them of the crisis they need to fix their own source code. You are subsidizing their dysfunction with your vital energy. There is a profound sarcasm in the way the world works. The more you try to please, the more you are ignored. But the moment you stand in your own center and say, "Not today," the tribe suddenly becomes very interested in what you're doing. Why? Because you've reclaimed your sovereignty. You've signaled that your time and energy belong to you, not to the collective. This creates a massive amount of psychic weight. You enter a room and you don't need to shout to be heard. Your silence does the talking for you. This kind of silence isn't a void, it's a presence. It's the silence of a person who no longer needs validation from the emergency button clickers. But let's be real, this transition is uncomfortable. When you first start being unavailable, you're going to feel a massive surge of guilt. That guilt is just the old approval-seeking software trying to reinstall itself. You'll hear voices in your head or from your friends accusing you of being selfish or changed or weird. Don't let that glitch fool you. They aren't mourning the loss of your friendship. They are mourning the loss of their convenience. If someone's love for you is contingent on your constant accessibility, they don't love you. They love the role you play in their movie. And it's time you stopped being an extra in everyone else's film and started directing your own. Jung spoke extensively about the persona, the mask we wear to satisfy the tribe. For many of us, that mask is the always helpful friend. We wear it so long that we forget our own face. We think that if we take the mask off, we'll be alone. And yes, for a while, you might be. Silence has a price. It will distance you from the people who were only there for the utility. But that distance is a cleansing fire. It clears out the people who were draining your battery, so you can finally see who is actually willing to charge it. Real intimacy isn't found in constant contact. It's found in the respect for each other's sovereignty. The modern world is designed to keep you reactive. Your phone is a 24/7 portal for other people to dump their internal noise into your brain. Every notification is a request for you to be available to someone else's agenda. If you don't set a firewall around your attention, you will spend your entire life reacting to stimuli until you die with zero original thoughts in your head. Reclaiming your unavailability is the ultimate hack for the 21st century. It's about choosing where your energy stays and where it should never be wasted. Sometimes, being unavailable is the most loving thing you can do. It's a hard reset for your relationships. It forces people to find their own strength instead of leaning on yours until you both collapse. It allows you to return to yourself, to listen to the voice in the whirlwind that Jung talked about, which can only be heard when the external noise stops. You have to be willing to be misunderstood. You have to be willing to be the bad guy in someone else's story for a while, if it means being the hero of your own. The loneliness of the strong isn't a tragedy, it's a rite of passage. It's the period of time where you rebuild your identity from the inside out without the interference of the tribe's expectations. Once you are whole, you don't need to be available to prove your worth. You choose to be present when it resonates with your truth. And when you do show up, your presence has 10 times the impact because it isn't an obligation, it's a gift. So I want you to look at your emergency contact list. I want you to look at the people who only text you when they need a favor, an ear to vent to, or a distraction from their own lives. Start there. Become a mystery to them. Don't explain, don't justify. Just withdraw your energy. Watch how they react. Some will get angry. Those are the ones who are using you. Others will step up and ask how you're doing. Those are the ones who might actually care about your soul. This is the ultimate system scan for your life. Stop being the person who responds in 30 seconds. Stop being the one who always has the answer. Stop being the reliable one at the expense of your own peace. The world won't fall apart if you go offline for a while. In fact, your world might finally start to come together. You are not a service. You are a sovereign. It's time you started acting like it. The simulation only controls you as long as you are predictable. Break the loop, become unavailable, and watch as everything finally changes. I genuinely believe that we are entering an era where attention is the only real currency. If you give yours away for free to everyone who asks, you're essentially bankrupting yourself. Guard your focus like it's your life, because it is. And remember, hitting that like button is a great way to show that you're reclaiming your focus from the junk food content out there and investing it in your own growth. It really does put a big smile on my face to see this community of glitch hunters getting stronger. Now go out there, or rather, stay in there, and start saying no to the things that don't nourish you. The tribe can wait. Your soul can't. We often think of withdrawal as a negative thing, like someone quitting a game. But in the context of Jungian psychology, it's more like a strategic retreat to a higher ground. You aren't leaving the battlefield, you're just getting a better view of the map. When you're in the thick of being available, you can't see the patterns. You can't see how your brother-in-law always picks a fight at Thanksgiving to get attention, or how your boss uses compliment sandwiches to make you work through the weekend. You're too close to the screen. By stepping back, by becoming unavailable, you increase the distance between yourself and the stimuli. This creates lucidity. Suddenly, the matrix starts to reveal its code. You see the manipulation for what it is, a desperate attempt by others to avoid their own shadow. Jung's concept of the shadow is crucial here. The people who demand your constant availability are usually running away from their own internal darkness. They can't stand to be alone with their thoughts, so they use you as an emotional distraction. If you stay available to them, you are essentially helping them stay in the dark. You are preventing them from doing the very work they were born to do. By saying no, you are throwing them back onto themselves. It's the most Jungian act of kindness there is. It's a brutal lucidity that cuts through the nonsense. And what about your own shadow? The part of you that enjoys being needed? That's the utility trap. A part of us loves being the reliable one because it gives us a sense of moral superiority. It's a subtle way of controlling people. If they owe us, we're safe, right? Wrong. That's just another script. True sovereignty means you don't need anyone to owe you anything. You are whole on your own. You don't need to be useful to be worthy. This is the hardest piece of code to rewrite because it's often buried in our earliest childhood memories. But once you delete that worthiness through utility file, you become truly dangerous to the simulation. You become someone who cannot be bought with praise or controlled with guilt. There's a certain sarcasm in realizing that the more you isolate for your own health, the more attractive you become to high-value people. Low-value people are threatened by boundaries. High-value people are inspired by them. When you stop being available to the drama seekers, you naturally start attracting the purpose seekers. Your vibration shifts. You stop being a frequency match for the chaotic background noise of the tribe and start tuning into a clearer, more powerful signal. Think of the great creators, the great thinkers, the great architects of history. None of them were available on a whim. They had sacred time. They had periods of deep, silent withdrawal where the individuation process could actually happen. You cannot build a masterpiece if you're constantly being interrupted to help someone find their car keys, literally or metaphorically. You have to be willing to be the mystery for a while. As you move through this week, try a silent experiment. Next time someone asks for something that isn't a genuine emergency, don't say no immediately. Just don't say anything for a while. Let the silence hang. Let them sit in the discomfort of your unavailability. Watch what happens to their energy. Do they get frantic? Do they apologize? Do they find someone else to bother? This data will tell you everything you need to know about your source code and theirs. I'm really interested to hear about the specific moment you realized you were being used as an infrastructure instead of a person. Was it a specific conversation? A specific friend? Share that story in the comments. We're building a library of wake-up calls here, and your experience might be the exact thing someone else needs to hear to trigger their own reboot. And hey, if you made it this far, you're clearly a high-bandwidth thinker. Hitting that like button helps me find more people like you. It really makes my day and keeps that big smile on my face when I see our numbers growing. You're not a puppet. You're not a mirror. You're not an emergency contact. You are a sovereign being with a finite amount of psychic energy. Start spending it on yourself. The world will be fine. In fact, it might even be better when you finally show up as the whole person you were meant to be. Be unavailable. Be a mystery. Be you. See you in the next one.